Hey, what is going on, everybody? How are you all doing today? I hope you all are having a wonderful and fantastic day today, and if not, hopefully you all will have a better tomorrow. So, RWBY Volume 7, Chapter 4 is out publicly, finally, so it is time for the review. So, as we know, Ruby and group, they all had just cleared out the mine with the Ace Ops, and right above the mine that we do notice is actually the Amidity Arena. So, apparently, they have that hovering overhead, which it seems like when it comes to how they can redirect that, I question, considering that they've never really talked about how they can, I guess, steer the thing or move it to where they want it to go. I guess it could be remote control or something. That's something that's always kind of made me think, like, how do they get that from point A to point B? I mean, of course, there's gravity dust that makes it float, but, it makes you wonder what they use to steer it. I don't know. That's just something that's always kind of been in my mind, how they do that. But hey, that's just something that I've always kind of questioned, something that's been kind of there. But something to notice while this is going on, of course, you have the Happy Huntsmen, which they are going to be Robin's followers. So Robin Hill, these are her followers right here. And I gotta say, just wanted to point out the sheep girl design, it's kind of cute. One of the things I'll say, they can do good on design sometimes. So, of course, you have the Aesops and Crow walking out and have this really big, victorious sounding music, which didn't sound too bad, actually. The soundtrack, they do good when it comes to music, I do think. But the thing that kind of irked me a bit was Nora and the rest of Team RWBY, they just seem like they're so impressed by the Aesops. But the thing is, when you think about it, Team RWBY has gone through so many events, like the fall of Beacon, and, you have characters like Ruby, for example, who was trained by a professional huntsman. So it's kind of weird to me that they just feel like they're so impressed by these professional hunters, and I don't know. I just feel like every time they do this with the Aesops, it's just not really needed. It's not really necessary, considering that they've worked alongside Crow. They've seen other professional huntsmen in action before. I don't know why they're so impressed of all times. I mean, they've had to survive in a very terrible terrain whenever they were going on their way to Mistral. So I don't know why this impresses them so much. I don't understand it. After all the events and everything they've gone through, I don't see why they would be so impressed. I mean, I just don't. It doesn't make any sense to me. But then Ruby, of course, asks Harriet about her teamwork with her friends, and then Harriet says, I wouldn't really call them friends, more like colleagues. They just get the job done and keep everybody safe. Because, the job of a hunter is supposed to be one that's risking your life, that anybody could die at any given time. So it's more so they just see it as, hey, look, I help you, you help me, we get the job done, yay. That's really more or less the way they see it, as opposed to where you have Team RWBY and JNR, they see themselves more as a family, which, they could elaborate a little bit more on working with the characters, kind of making them feel more like a family. But the biggest thing I want to bring up here in terms of family. So here's where I wouldn't exactly say Team RWBY is a family. Now, many people would say, no, they're a family. The reason why I say that is because when you look at it, look at the interactions between Ruby and Blake. There are hardly any, if at all, There's not many of that. A family, everybody would interact with each other, and they would really care more. It feels like, if anything, they're really friends. I mean, you have Ruby and Weiss who feel like a pair of friends. You have Blake and Yang who feel like a pair of friends, as opposed to all four of them feeling like they're really combined as a family. It just feels like a group of friends that are getting reacquainted, if anything, in my opinion. I feel like when you were to compare it to, like, Fairy Tail or One Piece, for example, that feels like a family. I mean, it does. It genuinely feels like an actual family because all the characters interact with each other at some point. But with Team RWBY, I feel like it could be done a bit better to convince me that they're a family. But now, looking at the Aesops, considering that they see each other more as colleagues rather than friends, that does make me a bit more skeptical of them. So, while I am very skeptical of Clover as it is, because I feel like the guy is too perfect. I feel like with this guy, he's going to be a traitor. I feel like it's coming. I'm not really shocked if it's going to happen. I feel like it's coming. But, the Aesops, that's the thing about them. They could all be traitors at this point. It's just questionable. Now, Ironwood does start to bring up something. So he brings up Forrest, the guy who had died that they had just recently met. And apparently Tyrion is actually going around killing these people. Now, it's starting to seem like they are framing Ironwood to try to make it look like he's taking out these people that work for Robin Hill, but, it's them actually doing this just to make him look bad and to ruin his reputation. Kind of an interesting concept there, if I had to say. But, while Ironwood is talking about how they're trying to make him look worse, there is one thing that irks me and just completely bothers me about this scene. So, then of course, Johnny Boy over here, Mr. Douchebag Haircut, showing his personalities just like his haircut, has to bring up politics. And he has to bring up, oh, well, you know how it works. People are already upset with you because of the embargo and the issue with the wall. This was literally my face when John was talking. I'm not even kidding. This is how I reacted to that. Of all people to try to give Ironwood directions on how he should run a country, it should not be Jean. Because, as opposed to Jean, Ironwood has led a country for years. Jean has no experience in that, so he should shut his mouth. And I expected Ironwood to maybe chew him out, but nope. Apparently he just was like, okay, sure, yeah. And I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. So, then, of course, the ship is inbound, and who is it? Oh, it's none other than everybody's favorite dad, Jacques. Yeah, so Jacques comes in, absolutely furious. He's upset, and he's mad about the whole mine incident and that the council wouldn't allow all this and stuff. I'm kind of surprised that he's here this soon of all things. I mean, they had just completed the mission. I mean, I guess he would be informed of this happening, but I'm very impressed that he was already there when he was. I mean, that was actually quite shocking to me to see him just show up out of the blue. I don't know if anybody else found that to be a bit odd, but I mean, he was just there. I was surprised to see him be there as swiftly as he was. That was impressive, especially seeing how much of a businessman he is, owning a company, and, how busy you would imagine him to be. It's very interesting to see him jump ship and get there as fast as possible. But I mean, it's insane the timing that he gets there. I mean, it's right after the mission ends. That's really convenient timing. But after he's having his fit, then he notices that Weiss is amongst them. And here's what I'm going to say about this. Of course, you can pretty much see where this is going. Of course, Weiss is upset with her father. Her father, Jacques, is upset with her. And so, of course, if anything, this conversation just felt like just two people that were sitting on Twitter and just throwing just dumb comments at each other just to get under each other's skin. That's realistically how this argument felt like. It just felt weird. It just felt like something somebody would just say on social media to another person just to make them upset, just to throw shade at them, and then, the other person gets upset with the other person and they just throw shade back, and it just felt like that. It just felt like a social media argument, if anything. It just, I don't know. It just really felt like that, if anything. And, of course, Jacques, the one thing that they do with him, as usual, have him try to just manipulate the scene with Weiss's mother, and by bringing up how her mother's not doing very well, which, of course, all that sass Weiss had just a moment ago, then just dies off. It's just dead and gone, and, she just kind of shuts down. And that's kind of how a lot of protagonists in RWBY work. Whenever the odds are just stacked against them, it seems like they just give up rather than they continue to try to press forward. It's kind of a bad habit. Whenever you look at other anime, you'll see them, like, fight or continue, but with RWBY, they tend to do this a lot. And then, of course, Weiss goes on to the statement of, hey, I'm with my family. Like, everything's okay there. And here's what I'm going to say about this. When it comes to Jacques and Weiss both, they don't really need each other anymore. That's the big thing. I mean, Weiss doesn't need anything from Jacques, and Jacques doesn't need anything from Weiss. I mean, Jacques stripped her title from her of being the heiress of the Schnee Dust Company, so what does he even need her for anymore? And vice versa with Weiss. I mean, she walked away from her father just pretty much being done with him. So what does she need from him other than morally feeling like she needs to change the Schnee Dust Company? So neither one of them need each other. So yeah, but there's a trope that they continue to tend to do with Jacques. And that trope is that when you think about it, Jacques always has this issue. He always has a fiery temper. He always explodes whenever something doesn't go right for him. Not only that, but he seems to just always try to manipulate the situation. This is what they did back in Volume 4, and they're doing it again. Realistically, it's like he's just a one-dimensional character that the writers just like to keep like this rather than trying to add more depth or add more characteristic to him. He just seems like this fiery temper that just explodes when something goes wrong and has a businessman-like demeanor whenever he needs to stay calm. I mean, and then, of course, tries to manipulate the issue, but the manipulation isn't really that convincing. Now, if there was anybody who was good when it comes to manipulating the scene, it was Adam. I mean, I think Adam, even within the Volume 6 trailer, he did good at manipulating Blake for his cause. I mean, I think that he did a good job with that. It's more convincing than what Jacques was doing. Now, then, after he leaves, Winter shows up, and that's when they go to the Amenity Arena, and the next big thing happens here. One, you can see that Penny is very excited. I mean, she's just very energetic. A lot more energetic than her character used to be, for certain. But that's been noticeable the whole time since she's come back. But then, of course, turns out Ironwood is just going ahead and promoting them. And it feels like they were just trying to make the fans reminisce about how they were back in the Amity Arena again. It just feels like they just had to push them to get back into it as fast as possible to say, hey, look, Volume 3 happened, but no characters reminisce, talk about it, don't even bring up a single thing about the arena, and it just, it kind of buries the weight of how Amity Arena felt to me. I don't know. I mean, I was hoping that maybe somebody would bring up something, maybe about Yang's attack or being accused or, Penny's death or something of the sort at least, but no, it didn't happen. It just makes it feel like Volume 3 just wasn't really important to them. It makes it feel like the memories that they had there just, well, don't exist. It's sad. I was hoping maybe something could be brought up, but unfortunately it wasn't, and that disappointed me, really, personal opinion. And then, of course, you still have RWBY not trusting Ironwood. And this is a big issue I have here because it seems like he is really putting his all and just showing that he's trusting everyone. He's really flipped a switch from who he was back in Volume 2 and Volume 3 because he didn't really trust others. He seemed to think that his way was the best. And then, of course, it seems like now they've really changed his character from that to trying to trust others, to trying to be open to others' opinions, which I like that. But it's like when it comes to RWBY, it's like there's just no trust there. It's like they just still continue to think, no, let's not trust him. He may not be trustworthy. And it's like the man's doing all that he can. He's really trying. And I feel bad for Ironwood because he's such a good character. I really like him, and it just feels bad to just see him just get treated like this. I don't know. I don't like how they're not telling him the full truth. I don't like that. It's bothering me. But before we get into more of me talking about that, thing is here is that you have RWBY talking to Crow and about Summer. So there's actually something brought up about Summer. I mean, could have done that last volume. Just saying. But, talking about what she would do, and Crow basically states that, she would push forward. And yeah, Summer probably would, but, we don't know enough about her to really say that. And now, when it comes to the whole Ironwood thing, you would think that Crow would be like, hey, we can trust this man. I've known him longer than you've been alive, kid. So, he's trustworthy. Believe me, it'll be fine. You can trust him. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to continue to ride this train until RWBY tells the truth, because she needs to tell the truth, because there are consequences to actions, unless you're a RWBY protagonist, apparently, because, they kind of got away from getting arrested and stealing an Atlas military ship. But, I'm just saying. But it's going to get to the point to where he's not going to trust him anymore, and guess what? It's all going to go downhill from there. Something big's going to happen because of it. So, until then, yeah, we're going to have some issues there, and RWBY needs to tell the truth. But also, did anybody notice how whenever they had that missions board up, how everybody was shocked that there was such a thing as a missions board? Volume 2, they had a missions board, but, I'm just saying, But then, of course, we get on to the big part. And the big part is Jacques. Now, this scene, it's pretty interesting. So Whitley, of course, bothers his father because, somebody has entered the premises. And he just kind of walked his way in from what Whitley states. And, of course, of all people, it's Watts. Now, this is interesting just to see Watts just, hey, look, hi, I'm here, just barge right on in, of course. And the funny thing here is, though, is that if you notice Jacques' expression, you would think that he would be surprised or shocked that somebody like Watts would come in. Instead, he's not really surprised that Watts is there. It's like he has known the man, Interesting enough, right? So, Watts apparently faked his own death. And so that's something interesting to look at, and which is a pretty strategic move. I'll give it to Watts. He's seeming like he's pretty interesting so far, and I gotta say, it's good to see this because he can't really hold up a story on his own, because Watts, well, as a character, he's been the most mysterious villain under Salem. So, realistically, it's good to see him actually be connected to somebody, and seeing that somebody is Jacques, well, it makes sense. And I'm going to get to why I think that this makes sense in just a moment, but also from a narrative standpoint, it would make sense that he would know somebody, because there's just not enough about the guy yet to know. So, of course, we then see Jacques and Watts continuing to talk, and, well, of course, what do we have Watts do? Of course, we see that Watts is going to go ahead and talk to Jacques about the upcoming election. Oh, my dear God. No, seriously. Rooster Teeth could not resist. They could not help themselves but to throw politics into RWBY yet again. Because, they gotta love it, right? God, I'm so tired of politics being shoved into entertainment. This is what ruins entertainment. I'm so tired of this stuff. And to see it being pushed in RWBY like this is just obnoxious. But hey, you know what? Watts is at least seeming like an interesting character to me. But we'll just see where that writing goes. But the thing of it is that I have a theory on who Watts might be. I think that Watts is actually Jacques' brother. Now, why do I actually say this? Well, let me tell you as to why I have a little bit of this theory here. For one, if you look at Jacques and you look at Watts, they look very similar to one another. It seems like Watts is probably the younger brother of the two, and then Jacques is the older brother. At least that's what it seems like to me. And also, there's another thing I want to bring up. If you look at the portrait in Jacques' manor, it seems that he had black hair at one time. And also, before anyone says, well, that doesn't mean that he's his brother or that they're related, remember, we don't know Jacques' real last name. We know that he married into the Schnee family, adopting the Schnee name. So, maybe Jacques, maybe he's a Watts. Interesting theory here. Just want to throw that out there. So, if I had to say what this chapter would be, I would rate it a 6 out of 10 because a lot of it just felt like filler. They had comedy and just weird moments like with Nora and the whole Thunder Thighs joke. It just didn't feel like it stuck. Seeing Nora, RWBY, and Jean just acting all giddy over the Aesops when, they've done very, very dangerous missions and, fought alongside Crow, who has a big reputation for himself. I don't understand why they are so impressed with the Aesops. It doesn't make any sense to me. It just, I don't know. Just the humor of it just doesn't stick with me. At the same time, what I have to say, though, is Watts is becoming interesting, so I did like that. I mean, I didn't really like how they have to shove in the politics there, though, but, Watts at least being connected to Jacques, it makes sense, and it's good to see him be connected to a character, because I just don't feel like without anything, info at all, none. Without it, I don't really feel like he could hold up a story on his own. And, another issue I had, though, was just the banter between Jacques and Weiss. It's just, they don't need each other. They don't have anything connected to each other at this point other than just being blood relatives. Aside from that, I mean, Jacques already disowned Weiss, and Weiss has literally run away from her own father, so I mean, I don't really see how they need each other at this point. Also, another thing that I wanted to mention, I almost forgot about this. If you notice, when the characters become official hunters, it just feels so hollow, because the characters are like, oh, I totally forgot about that. Seriously, this was what RWBY has wanted to be, and then it's like, after Volume 3, it's just a forgotten dream. It's as if becoming a hunter for the characters just didn't matter, and even Yang says she totally forgot about that. You know, it just makes them becoming hunters feel hollow. It just, I don't know, it just didn't really feel that important. It just didn't feel like anything. It just felt wasted. I don't know. It just, after all that time, becoming hunters and everything, it just didn't feel like it was anywhere close to being important after that. And it's disappointing because, especially considering that that's the whole reason why they even went to Beacon Academy in the first place, was to become hunters. And it's like, oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, I forgot. It feels hollow. It just doesn't feel right, you know? I mean, that's not good. That's not good writing on behalf of saying, "Hey, look, you're a hunter now." Oh, I forgot about that. Huh? That's what I was doing. Oh, that's not good. That's certainly not good writing. They could have done a lot better with that because it just felt so hollow. It just, there was no weight to that. That's the thing. There was just no weight to it, which is not good. One more thing to mention: politics. Seriously, keep real world politics out of RWBY. That's what they need to do. They need to keep it out. They don't need to bring it in. They need to push it out. I mean, seriously, Jacques himself at this point is nothing more than a reference. I mean, it's like that's what Jacques' character is just built around, is just being an Orange Man bad reference, and that's not good. That is not good at all. Keep the real world politics out of RWBY, just out of entertainment, period, because it doesn't need to be an entertainment at all. I mean, it's not like we're going to have an Orange Man bad reference in the near future, right? Am I right? Oh, God. But anyways, let me know what you think about this entire chapter down below. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. And if you did enjoy, hit the video with a like. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Share the video if you found this informative or useful. And follow me on Discord. The link is in the description down below. But anyways, I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful and fantastic day today. And remember, if today was not a good day, tomorrow could always be better. Take care of yourselves and everyone around you. And have yourselves a good one out there, everybody.